Happy New Year, everyone. You remember Dan Siegel? He is a Oakland civil rights attorney, goes all the way back to the 60s in his resume, who ran for mayor unsuccessfully in 2014. He was one of 15 to lose to Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf, the current mayor. Well, he's posted this really interesting uh, take on the future, but it's actually a call to action. It's by Carroll, Fife, and Dan Siegel. It says, everyone agrees Oakland is a poppin, or Oakland is poppin. The town is the place to be. Telegraph, Old Oakland, and Grand Avenue downtown is no longer the ghost town of 15 years ago. There are crowds of young people drinking, eating, and cruising Broadway every night. Piedmont and College Avenues are also bustling. Farmers markets have popped up everywhere, competing with Whole Foods and Trader Joe's. Not only restaurants and bars, but the real estate developers and landlords are really making it big. Can you purchase a home for less than $1 million? Let us know. Can you rent a decent studio for less than $1,000? There's a line waiting outside. But there are also 2,500 of our former neighbors living in their cars or in tents and tarps under freeway overpasses. The streets are filthy and deteriorating, especially in the flatlands of the city. Affordable housing is Oakland's biggest problem, and Mayor Libby Schaaf and the city council majority fall all over each other to encourage the speculators and developers working to turn Oakland into Walnut Creek West. They give lip service to the image of Oakland's diversity, but are oblivious to the trends that have reduced the city's African American population from about 43 to 28% in the last 15 years. While some Bay Area cities are working to create affordable housing, discourage real estate speculators, and protect tenants from rent increases and unjust evictions, and protect tenants from rent increases and, I misread that. Our elected officials, our elected representatives appear to have other priorities. Our school district is about to be declared bankrupt thanks to a succession of locally and state-appointed superintendents who have wasted tens of millions on administrative salaries and get-rich-quick schemes that have predictably failed to boost student achievement. The elected school board lacks even the slightest leadership ability and any idea about how to carry out its responsibilities to improve Oakland schools. Much of the current budget mess can be laid at the rest of former Superintendent Antoine Wilson, whose greatest contribution to Oakland was increasing per capita income by hiring his cronies at $200,000 per year administrators. As $200,000 per year administrators. Wilson resigned in January as the financial crisis began to unfold, but the board must share the blame. Several board members, Jody London, James Harris, and Jamoki Hinton-Hodge, adamantly suppressed criticism of Wilson's processes for fear that it would drive him away. The board has elevated being nice to its highest priority, but did not change the system for our children. It is possible to analyze, critique, and supervise without being disrespectful. Mayor Schaaf promised during her 2014 campaign to help improve student performance by helping to create preschool programs for all 3 and 4-year-olds. She is 3 years into a 4-year term, and we are still waiting. Her upcoming child care ballot initiative will, once again, utilize a regressive tax to put Oakland voters on the hook for education reforms. We've seen the bait and switch with the recent sugar tax initiative and cannot risk further enrichment of city coffers to mismanage taxpayer dollars. Meanwhile, back at the Oakland Police Department, they continue to grossly overspend the OPD budget by the millions. The department remains under federal court oversight for the 15th year. This continues because the city's political and administrative leadership is incapable of running a police department minimally respectful of people's rights, particularly those of African American residents. Our latest chief, the umpteenth since the Allen Settlement Agreement was signed in 2003, is the first female chief of the city, but honors her predecessors by copying their dishonesty and lack of accountability. Chief Ann Kirkpatrick explained that her false statements about OPD's cooperation with the Federal Immigration Service in violation of Oakland's sanctuary policy were not her fault, and no one has explained why several high-ranking police administrators identified for covering up officers' sexual exploitation of teenager Jasmine Absalon, commonly known as Celeste Guap, continue in leadership positions, with some being promoted. Oakland needs new leadership, and that will not come from the group that has dominated Oakland politics for decades. Now is the right time for new leadership. 2018 can begin a new era for Oakland, or it will end with more of the same. Many key positions will be open, including the mayor, city council members for districts 2, 4, and 6, and school board members for the same districts. Our elected officials do not deserve a free ride in 2018. Who's ready to step up? Please join us for a meeting on Saturday, January 6th, 10 a.m. at the ACCE office, 2501 International Boulevard, to plan our strategy to begin turning Oakland around in 2018. That's all well and good, but Dan fails to mention that Ken Houston and Katrina Molina are running for mayor against Mayor Schaaf. Also, Dan is great at laying out problems, but just as was the case in 2014 when he ran for mayor, he never lays out solutions. And so I'm not saying don't go to his meeting, please. No, please. Quite the contrary. Go to the meeting. I'm only pointing out that right now, here's the real problem. In 2013, by this time, where it was 2013 going to 2014, we had 6 people running for mayor of Oakland. And eventually, by the election, we had 15. Now we have 3. The incumbent, Ken Houston, and Katrina Molina. Is Dan going to run? If he is, he needs to say he's going to run, forget the meeting, and move forward aggressively. But the problem is that we have a window of candidates who are both qualified and interested, and that window is closing. Why? Because the Oakland population is changing in such a way that we're getting more and more people who are in their 20s and aren't considering running for political office as their first objective when they come into Oakland. First of all, you have to stay here for at least a year. So between people who've been in Oakland for some time, moving out, or just having life changes that cause them not to consider running for elected office, and a large and growing younger population that's not interested in running for office, we have fewer people running for office, period, including mayor. That is the real issue. So what we have to do is educate new Oaklanders, and I call people who are I call new Oaklanders those who've been in Oakland less than 7 years, on how Oakland works, who the elected officials are, the importance of just being interested in politics and going to city council meetings and knowing who your council member is and how to contact that person. That really has to be done right now. And then we also need to find people to run. It would be very embarrassing to have just 3 people running for mayor. And I'm a supporter of Libby Schaaf. She's my god sister, okay? But I'm also a lover of Oakland. It would be very embarrassing to have just 3 people or 4 running for the office of mayor of Oakland. And beyond that, we need to talk about how to fix Oakland. We all know what the problems are, but we need to talk about new programs and how to implement them.